Hello, my name is Natalie. I am a full time queer ceramic artist and painter based out of Chicago. And I get a lot of questions on my social media repeatedly that I just don't have the time to answer every single time. So I figured I would make a video answering them all in one place, as well as some questions I got last week on my Instagram. So I have all the questions on my computer right here, and I'm going to split them up into 4 categories. I've got just general art related, business related materials, and some personal questions. So, yeah, let's get into it. I'm going to do the business one first because I feel like I get these questions the most. Let's kick it off for some juicy money related questions. First one, straight to the point. Do I make enough money from my art? Yes, I do. Yeah, I sustain myself completely on my creative practice, and I have my whole life. I've never had like a regular job. So yeah, I make enough where I feel secure right now. I have a little bit of anxiety about the sustainability of that, especially with the ebbs and flows and the crazy things happening with the economy right now. So I have a little bit of anxiety about that, but yeah, for my whole adult life, I have been a full-time artist. How long have I been doing this full time and what did I do before? I have been full-time with ceramics for 5 years, and before that I was an actor and a scenic painter. So I painted sets for theater companies and museum exhibits, some commercialized things like installations and stuff like that. So yeah, I was a scenic charge, which essentially meant that I would paint wood to look like different materials, like marble and concrete and sometimes I would paint like really cool large scale murals for projects, but for the most part it was, yeah, I painted a lot of sets, which I loved. And also is still really applicable to what I do now. Like the color theory of matching and mixing colors is a really helpful skill that I developed in college and then professionally. But yeah, I went to school for theater and I was primarily an actor. I still make some money from acting. I get like residuals from some projects that I've done. How do you know when to go full time? This is a question that I like don't take lightly because I think telling someone to quit their stable job is a really intense thing to tell someone to do. And also like this is not the life for everyone. There's a lot of a mental turmoil that comes with not knowing where your next paycheck is going to come from and when it's going to come and how much it will be, and especially if you're supporting a family or you have dependents or whatever. So I would just say start off slow, start sharing your work as you're making it, start offering to sell it, do customs, maybe do some small art fairs that don't have like a high entrance. And then I wouldn't go full time until you can't meet demand. Because to be honest, you have to sell a lot of pottery to support yourself. I mean, think about like how much your rent costs and then think about how much a mug costs. That's a lot of mugs. That's a lot of mugs. And then that's not counting your studio rent and your firing and your kiln upkeep and materials. Like I sell over 1,000 pieces of pottery a year in order to support myself. It would be really challenging to do that. I mean, it is already very challenging to do that, but it would be way more challenging to do that if I didn't have the customer base to sell those pieces to. So I would just say like don't do it until you have like really high demand. There is nothing wrong with doing it for fun, and there's nothing wrong with having another job in addition to your creative practice. I think that would be really hard for me. I'm not someone that does well with having a boss, but you also might not have the temperament for self-employed work either. And like there's no shade in any of that. So I think that's a really personal decision. There's no wrong answers. Tips for people who do want to go full time: share your work and share it often. But I think people who are sharing their work online get really bogged down in the numbers and wanting to like go viral or whatever. And I would just say you will get a customer base when your work is excellent. I think your customers and your audience will come as your work grows and develops. And so, while I do think there's a lot of time and attention that deserves to be paid on sharing your work, more of your attention should be going into developing your work and growing your skill set. Because if you do not have a work that shines on its own, it's not going to happen. So, I think really growing your own creativity and skills is more important than anything. Once you're paying attention to that and that stays constant, that doesn't go away, that's a lifelong path. Then I would say film your process, share your process, take good photos. You can on your iPhone, that's fine, but take really good photos. Rambling, sorry. First and foremost, focus on your art, take quality photos, share the process, and share yourself. Which platform do I recommend sharing on? I started off on Instagram and then I started on TikTok and now I'm on YouTube. But I would say I use them for different things. I would say like TikTok I use to like acquire followers and then move them to my Instagram. And Instagram is more where I develop like a community and get to talk to people and really share the behind the scenes of my process. So I feel like my Instagram followers are a little bit more valuable because I engage with them a lot more. And then TikTok is more valuable for like acquiring those followers. Everybody has a different perspective on that. There's no wrong. I know a lot of people use Pinterest. Some people are not on TikTok at all, and that's totally fine. They're all very saturated. So just make good work and share it on any of the platforms. I think that's really what it's about. Like there are so many artists and there's so many small businesses, so you really have to stand out if you're going to do it. And so just make excellent work and put it on. It doesn't really matter what platform you put it on. Just make good work and then put it out there. I think that's kind of it for business. Other tips: make your art, put it out there. I don't know. It's really there's a lot of things that come with it after you start doing that, but really that's the kicker. People get really caught up in like, oh, my style, my branding, it has to be cohesive. I have to be perfect before I share it, all that stuff. And like, no, you don't. Start now. You don't have to be perfect before you start. Just keep making and make every day. Materials. This is going to be quick because I get a lot of questions about what materials I use. Favorite clay, underglaze, and glaze. I use a B mix. So it's like an off-white porcelain ish. I use just a regular clear glaze. Doesn't matter which one you use. I use underglaze. So I use one glaze in my studio and one clay because I keep my materials really simplified so that it's streamlined and cohesive, and really the things that change is the artwork on the piece. People are always asking me like what glazes I'm using and stuff, and it's just underglaze and clear glaze on the same clay. Great question though is top 5 Amico underglaze colors, not black or white. I gotta go medium blue because that is my most used. So medium blue. I really like lilac, but it burns out really easily. So I'm gonna say violet, which is one I'm only using recently, and I do love the violet. What is it? Let me check if it's real orange or bright orange that I really, really like. Okay. So at home, I use bright orange, but I got like a little container of real orange. Real orange is like a bit peachier, and bright orange is like a yellowy orange, like a brighter yellow orange. I love both of them. I'm loving real orange right now though. It's a really good color that I've been mixing into other colors to either dull them down, and it's really bright on its own. So I think that's going to be a transitional one that I'm going to switch out when I get back home. I love chartreuse. I love it, but it takes a lot of coats to be really, really, really opaque, but I love it. I love chartreuse. That's probably one of my other most used. And then back home, I use bright red. And while I'm here, I've been using radiant red. And I gotta be honest, I like bright red better. It's a bit cooler, and I like it better. So bright red. So medium blue, violet, real orange, chartreuse, and bright red. Those are my favorites. I love them. I use a lot of colors, but I mix most of them. But I paint with Amico underglazes as if they're gouache. Yeah, those are all great on their own, and they're all great mixing with other colors. My most reached for tools. My diamond core tools, that's a question I get on every freaking thing that I post. I'm carving with a diamond core tool. My sponge and wax. I use wax on everything because I wax before I carve and then I wax after it's out of the glaze kiln. So those are probably my most reached for. But more than anything, it's my my carving tool and my palette. So that's all you need. Personal questions. I got a question of how old am I? 29, clinging desperately to my 20s. I just turned 29. I got a comment a couple years ago when I was like exactly 25. It was a mean comment. I think they intended it to be mean. And it said, I can't tell if this bitch is 18 or 30. And I said, correct. I'm right in the middle. Like, you dumb. People on the internet are so weird. Anyway, I'm 29. Do I prefer New York or Chicago? Chicago, like by a lot. New York is super cool. I think it's like a really fun energy. I'm really happy to have the opportunity to be here for like a long period of time, but absolutely Chicago. I adore Chicago. How do you make queer friends? This is a really good question, and I actually love this question. And I understand the challenge, especially I grew up in a really conservative and religious environment, and I didn't really know queer people. And now, like 95% of my friends are queer in one way or another. And I think I would just say, I think being really open and honest about who you are and your life and your experiences allows other people to open up about theirs. Because, hot take, most people are queer. Like, I think more people are queer than you realize. This summer, I was at an art fair, and these adorable women were next to me, and they were like probably in their 40s. And they were asking me about myself, and I was chatting about Rebecca, and they're like, "Oh, how'd you meet?" Whatever. This woman who she was widowed, she like came to me and she was like, "You know what?" Like at the end of the weekend of like chatting, she's from like rural Indiana, like from a Christian area, like very straight appearing, quote unquote. And she was like, "You know what? I think I could date a girl." And you know what? Maybe I will. I was like, you know what? Fucking hell yeah. And so I just think like when you're honest about who you are and your experiences and your relationships, I think it opens people up to being reflective and open and honest about their own. And when you meet queer people, make an effort to include them in your life and include them in your activities. Like I throw a pride party every year, go to queer events. My best friend helps run like a queer climbing meetup. And so that's a really good way to meet people. There's like queer bars in the city that have like reading nights. More than anything, I think it's just being honest and open with yourself and then asking people who you meet who are queer to hang out. Queer people are the best. Now in Chicago, we just have like a really beautiful community of queer people who started off as friends with one of them, and I was friends with them, and they were friends with them, and now we're all friends. We're all gay and friends. And it's so beautiful. That's a really lovely question, and I hope that you're able to find a really beautiful queer community for yourself as well. How did I meet Rebecca? Rebecca and I met through a mutual friend years and years and years ago. And like the moment I met her, I was like, what? She's cute. But unfortunately, I was dating someone at the time. And so, like, nothing happened. And then COVID happened. And then, so we ran into each other that one time for like 5 minutes. And I just always in the back of my head was like, I would just randomly think about her. And then we re met probably like 4 years after that. Just ran into each other and I said hello. And then months later, she DM'd me on Instagram asking to paint together. And then we were best friends for a year. Finally, like a year after we were best friends, we became girlfriends. Anyway, yeah, love her. Let's move on to art questions. How to develop a style. Make things all the time. It will come. I think this is like an thing that artists stress out about a lot. And it'll just come. Just make all the time. The way that you and your eyes see and interpret things and the way that that translates through your body and through your hands onto your art is just a thing that happens with making. Other than that, I think taking in art and the world around you thoughtfully, not just scrolling, but being like, oh, I like that. And like, why do I like that? And even maybe even doing like a study where you take an artwork that you like and recreate it, not to sell, but to study. I don't know. I think eyes up, looking at the world around you, and then making all the time. Just make all the time, and it'll come. Where do I get my inspiration? I get a lot of inspiration from plein air work. I love painting outside, and that translates onto my pottery a lot. And this is basic, but I fucking love flowers. I don't know what it is. I just do. This vase is literally all from flowers I took photos of while we were on a hike. I don't know. I think I maybe was like self-conscious of the fact that I love flowers so much. Similar to like how, like, I feel like a lot of preteen girls are like, I hate pink. It's like, well, I actually like pink now. As women, we are taught to like, sometimes there's a bit of like pick me energy that's taught to us of like, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I think there's a bit of misogyny that we are taught. There was a time in my life where I really tried to distance myself from my femininity artificially because of like the misogyny around me. And that led me to be like, I don't like pink and wanting to like steer clear of like very feminine things. I love flowers though. I think they're such a beautiful thing. They just like come out of the ground. And for what? There's like no reason. There's no reason other than that they're like so beautiful. And I know there's like ecology reasons, but I just think they're beautiful and I love them. And I love architecture. I love landscapes. I like drawing people. I like everything. I think just like everything that I like bounce into in the world you can take inspiration from. How did I get into pottery and fall in love with this craft? I got my undergrad in theater, and then directly after I got my undergrad, I went and did the school at Steppenwolf, which is like a pretty intense training program at Steppenwolf in Chicago. So I went directly from undergrad into that. It was a lot and it was so intense, and I was really burnt out afterwards. And at that point, all of my art forms were monetized, and I was like, man, I really need an outlet that's just for me that I don't monetize. Started pottery again. I did it like on and off in college. Like I never had really taken a class. There was like a clay club, so it was just open studio time, and I loved it. And when I was in college and really stressed from being in rehearsal and doing shows, I would make spreadsheets of how much it would cost me to like move to the mountains and start a pottery studio, and that was kind of my escapist dream. So I would use that to relax myself. I was stressed out about acting, and I was doing that all day every day, and felt like I needed an art form just to relax. And so I started doing pottery again, and then I just became so obsessed. And I didn't really mean to start selling, but then the pandemic hit, and I was selling a little bit before the pandemic, but then the pandemic hit and I lost all of my acting and scenic painting jobs. So I just started selling, and it just kind of blew up, and I love it. And I don't know, I'm just obsessed with it. I love pottery. How do I know which colors to use together? I don't know. Color theory with mixing definitely was learned through my scenic design and my scenic painting. Shout out Tim. He's a master color matcher, and I learned a lot of color theory from him. He was my scenic design mentor and professor in college, and I learned a lot of color theory from him that I take into my work today. Things that go together, I think just use a limited palette. Like I use like 6 colors and I mix everything. So everything kind of goes together when you use fewer colors. When you have a large palette, it's much easier to create paintings and pieces that are not harmonious. But when you're mixing from a really small selection of colors, like I use a split primary palette, so a warm and a cool of each color and then white. Sometimes I'll add in burnt umber. But when you are mixing with such a small amount of colors, it's much easier to have colors that are harmonious. Can I do a painting course? I feel like equipped to do painting courses in pottery. I don't know that I feel like super equipped to do it with like oils and gouache, which are my other mediums. But maybe I'll do like a meetup. I don't know. I feel a little bit of imposter syndrome about that. Like I'm not. I don't know. Maybe. That makes me nervous. A lot of comments on where and when I sell my work, because most of the time there's nothing on my website. I sell my work via drops. So I have a pre-announced date and time that my work goes live, and then I sell at that time. So the next one will be like first week of May, and then there'll be another one in June. So it's about every like 2 months. I do 1 to 2 art fairs a year. This year it's one of a kind, TBD on Ann Arbor / Renegade. We'll see. That's kind of that. I think those are all the questions. Let me know if you have other questions. I'm really tired, and I've already had 2 coffees today. But I was at the studio for 13 hours yesterday, which was too long. Anyway, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. And thanks for submitting these questions. I hope I was thorough enough. If you could give this video a like and subscribe, that would be so great. You can check out my other videos of me working. I have a lot of studio vlogs up right now. And I am currently working on my next drop. I just finished all the pieces yesterday for the bisque kiln. So hop on the newsletter if you don't want to miss anything about that, because that is coming soon, as is the video of how all of those pieces are made. So yeah, anyway, thanks so much for being here. Have a good day. Bye.